We get into some nerdy news network.
Yes, I think it's time to bring it back to a normally scheduled video.
Regularly scheduled programming.
Yeah. So let's get into some news.
Netflix chief content officer says
Mm.
they'll never do a theatrical release because their paid members come to Netflix for movies.
I think it's a bold
Fuck
statement.
Netflix. Anyone who is anti-cinema, I am anti them. We need to protect cinemas.
It just seems wild to me that they don't see the benefit of like watching a film on a big screen in that atmosphere. Like, I get it. They don't want to pay cinemas, like these big companies. Essentially,
Cinemas are getting bent over anyway.
They,
You know what I mean?
They are, and they're trying to. They then bend over the customer to make their money. But like, I get them not wanting to have to play by someone else's rules because that's not what Netflix has ever done. The shock to me is the fact that like Netflix hasn't even considered the idea of like opening their own cinema where they control it. Like the fact that there's not like a Netflix cinema for their own theatrical releases, and could even mix in like, oh, there's Stranger Things currently coming out. Like, you can come and watch the weekly episodes at the cinema and watch it on like a big screen and surround sound for that experience. I'm sure people would pay to do that. But yeah, it's bold from them.
Netflix was a pioneer. And
Yes.
I don't use that word lightly, but they were a pioneer. They went from this thing, and I remember this vividly as a Christmas present. We got a Netflix subscription, but that was back when Netflix did DVDs.
Oh yeah.
And they send DVDs out and you send them back. We didn't get the most out of it because it was a dog shit system. And then they pivoted towards streaming content, and they became the biggest thing in the fucking world. It felt like overnight.
Yeah,
so the fact that they now think they're too good to do theatrical releases is crazy to me, because I'm going to be honest, 80% of the films Netflix do, I will never ever watch, because there is no hype around it, because it's never been to a cinema. There wasn't a premiere. It just appeared on there one day with no kind of media around it. So I don't even know if I'm interested in it, because I've not even seen a trailer. And while I'm scrolling through Netflix, I'm not going to watch their trailer they've got on there.
Here's the thing. When Netflix came out, I would say you knew everything that was coming out on Netflix. Like when it was first around, it's like, oh my god, Stranger Things. And I was watching those. I haven't like gone to Netflix to watch something. I actually want to say since last year's F1 Drive to Survive. That's the last series where I was like, oh, it's out. I'm going to go to Netflix and watch it. Like, I've occasionally browsed it when I'm with my girlfriend. We're trying to find something to watch. And she might have put something on. But like, Netflix is no longer on there as like my go-to to like straight away to find something to watch.
Netflix is probably my tied third option. I go Disney Plus first, because that's where a lot of like the rewatch binge stuff I like is. Then it's YouTube. And then depending on what I know I might want to watch, I go Prime Video or Netflix.
Yeah, see, I would probably add in I have Disney Plus is generally where I go first. Then it's, if I'm just wanting to like random videos and whatever, I go to YouTube. If I'm wanting like a kind of just a series part, I actually go Crunchyroll for anime now.
Oh, you big weeb.
And
look
then
with his beanie and his beard and his fucking weebness.
Hey,
fucking hipsters.
Anime is good, man.
This woke mob ruining it for the rest of us.
And then after that, like you, it's like Prime or Netflix. And actually, I would probably say Prime, then Netflix.
It absolutely depends. If I know I want to watch a particular kind of show, that will depend where I go on like my flow chart.
Yeah.
But yeah, bold from Netflix, and I think big thing to say. Family Guy's 25th birthday, which means it must be Hori's 50th birthday this year at least. And Seth MacFarlane has said there is still a large appetite for it,
Mm,
and he doesn't plan on stopping anytime soon. Now, I have made it very clear, mostly over the last few weeks, that I'm a big Family Guy nerd. It's one of my go-to
yeah.
rewatch shows. I love Family Guy. I kind of, do you know what? When I first fell in love with it, BBC Three.
Yes. Yeah.
Then they got rid of
Oh my
BBC
God,
Three, and I
BBC
couldn't
Three.
watch it for years. And then it came
What
to
a
Disney Plus,
yeah.
and that was one of the best days. I think since it came to Disney Plus, I've watched the entire series at least 3 times over.
I don't think I've actually like sat and watched it properly since the BBC Three days, I'll be honest.
And it's so interesting because, like, it might surprise some people that Seth MacFarlane says there's still a big appetite for it. TikTok has given Family Guy a whole new lease on life.
Yeah, though also I'm not like massively surprised because Family Guy's thing has always been essentially poking fun at current events. That's like, yes, there's the underlying story of different things going on, but like often it's current events or future current events that they predict and happen to come true, time travel, that like they're poking fun at, they make comedy out of. So it's like, it's always going to be relevant because there's always governments doing dumb stuff to make fun of. So it doesn't surprise me there's still an appetite because it's basically just the next generation get to watch the comedy made of this shit that's happening around them.
Let me be completely clear. Family Guy, despite being an adult show, is designed for 15-year-olds. Which, I mean,
Yeah,
you can have your own ethical debates about. It's designed for 15-year-olds. That is the target audience, whether
yeah,
they admit it or not. But there's also this weird kind of thing where me now being a 24-year-old, I watch it and I'm like, I remember when I thought that was like the best joke ever. But that slightly higher brow joke that they make as a joke about it being a joke
yeah.
is also really fun. I enjoy it kind of in more of a satirical way instead of a slapstick way now.
I get you.
And I like it, and like the political comedy in it is funny because yes, it does I think beat the shit out of the right wing more, but the left wing doesn't get completely spared. It
No,
enjoys poking its fun at it. And yeah, I don't want Family Guy to stop anytime soon. I get no show should really last for 25 years. But we're also from England where Emmerdale and Coronation Street have been on the
yeah.
scene for ever. So I'm okay for Family Guy to keep going.
But then you also look at like The Simpsons has been going for years, and it's like there is a
Exactly.
place there for an animated show with that context of like what that show covers. It's like, yeah, it can keep going.
But maybe we won't be able to watch Family Guy anymore
Mm.
because Hulu and Disney Plus have added terms into user agreements that bans subscribers from password sharing.
Is this
Completely unrelated. Have you ever noticed how the Captain Morgan bottom has a pirate on it? A pirate on it.
Hmm.
Very interesting. So
Is
yeah,
this
sorry about that. You're
still
not allowed
Canada
to.
based at the moment?
No, because if it's in their full user agreement, I believe that goes worldwide.
Oh,
Unless I've missed something, as far as I know, this is them taking the test they've been doing in Canada for a few months
going with
and
global.
sending it global with it. We'll see how long it takes and how quickly they strike down on it. They may go the route of for a little while they just kind of have it in there, and if anyone's really taking the piss, they use it to get rid of them. But at the same time, they're not going to permanently ban anyone because they want your money. They will just cancel your subscription and go, you can only use one address, or they'll just lock out one address. What I've got to be honest about, and I'm going to be honest because who gives a fuck? If Disney are watching this, send us the bag and we won't rag on you. But I currently hold the Disney Plus subscription that I use, my father uses, and our house uses, as well as Jenna's mother and Jenna's sister. That is currently 3 households.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Jenna are obviously about to move out, which will make it 4 households.
Yep.
I swear to God, if when we move out, we get banned at our new house when I'm the one who pays for it, and there's no way I can go, no, this is the home address, and then just inform my parents, Jenna's parents and sister, that they need to pirate it or pay for it.
Yeah.
I'm going to be fuming If they don't
Yeah.
give you the option to go, no, this is my home address, that's bullshit.
Do you know what's better? I have technically 4 households already on mine. There's me, my girlfriend where she lives, my mate down south, though I don't know how often he uses it, but he's on there. And then I actually have one of the KCP lads in America is on mine. So it's
That'd be
like
funny.
that's real.
That will get
That
cut
that
off real quick.
I was gonna say that might get me flagged very quickly. I don't know how often it was back when Kenobi came out. I don't know if he's still using it. He might be.
Yeah, but like, who gives a fuck? As long as the person creates their own profile and doesn't fuck with what I'm watching, I would give my password to anyone.
Well,
Like in that context,
we talked about this back with Netflix when they did it. They need to give up on this like idea of controlling password sharing because you're just gonna like push your customers away, and instead like make the payment be like, oh, you can only have 2 screens streaming at one time, or like the base cheapest subscription fee is 1 screen.
So this is interesting.
Go on.
Because Disney, apparently the wording in the user agreement does talk about subscription. So people are saying they might be introducing a more expensive tier that kind of allows for multiple households. Now, I am going to be honest, and I'm not one to normally say billionaires are being reasonable. I think Disney as a cost analysis kind of thing is actually quite reasonable. So if it costs me like another 20, 30 quid a year to allow it to be across the 4 households with no issue, bearing in mind we're all splitting that payment, so it's not as bad anyway, I'll be completely okay with that. But if they just go, no, you need 1 per household, that's what pisses me off. I have no problem with Netflix or Disney or any streaming service going, we detect multiple households. If you don't want these people cut off, it's an extra £2 a month or £10 a year. £20 a year. Do you know? At that point, I'm kind of like, you know what? That's okay, because right now maybe they're logged in for free. I would just ask them to chip in. They'll still be paying less than a full Netflix subscription, but that'll sort out the prices. I won't be out of pocket. They'll pay less than they have to, and Netflix, Disney, whoever gets the extra revenue they're looking for.
Yeah.
However, if they're going to be greedy fuckers about it, I will join my friend Captain Morgan and throw on a sailor's hat and sail the 7 seas. Because it's not even that I can't afford it or don't want to pay it. There's a principle thing where I'm almost at the stage of like, if you're going to be dicks when you don't have to be, I will go to the nth degree to just make sure you get no money.
Yeah, it baffles me that their only direction they seem to want to go is no password sharing, when you could just be like, well, you're limited to, like, if you pay the basic plan, you get 1 screen at a time. And
Why do you care where that screen is? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, it makes no difference. I get that, like, technically this would be like, for me, it'd be 4 subscriptions they should be having. But it's like, no, you're more likely just to lose free subscription, like free people. And then
if someone's sharing a password, it's not so they can both use Netflix or Disney constantly. It's because there's one thing they want to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, Netflix's original subscription pricing was based on the amount of screens that could use it at the same time. I don't know if that's still worded the same, but their basic was like 1 screen, their middle was 2 screens, and their maximum was 4 screens. Why do you care where them screens are? You shouldn't care if them screens are all in the same house or dotted on the 4 corners of the globe. It shouldn't matter.
Well, it's like Crunchyroll going about anime. Theirs is a thing of, it's how many screens you have. And if you pay the better model as well, you get like offline mode. So like they have it as, multiple, because they understand that people share one account. Because for things like anime, someone might watch one singular anime show and don't need a subscription for them all, but that's the only place to get them. So
and then on the flip side, there's some good news coming out of the Disney Plus direction.
There is.
While Percy Jackson and the Olympians season 2 hasn't officially been greenlit yet,
not as far as
the writers' room is reported to be making great progress on the scripts for season 2. Which is good news.
I wouldn't be surprised if, although it's not been officially greenlit, there was something in their clause for season 1. If you break this target, we'll greenlight a season 2. They might know that they've passed that target, and it's just documents need to be signed. But
Based on the publicly available numbers, I would be amazed if it doesn't get greenlit.
yeah,
I mean, a good barometer is ironically our view count on videos.
yeah,
Because videos that do better than average generally mean
there's a
that
lot of
there is
people
a
watching.
very dedicated community and not that
Yeah,
many people making videos about it.
yep,
And I think that is always a good barometer that shows outperformed what you can expect from it.
agreed.
Um, Matthew Vaughn
Mm,
says snippets he's seen of Deadpool 3 have him convinced that it will save the MCU and that he'd be interested in doing a Superman Red Sun adaptation with Henry Cavill in the lead role. This was all discussed on the post-credits pod.
right.
That was going to be our name until we realized that podcast existed. The bastards. It's a class name. We came up with it genuinely completely
Yeah,
separately,
we
and
did.
then we found out they existed. So he was doing an interview over there. He said he's seen some bits from Deadpool 3 and he genuinely thinks it's going to reinvigorate the MCU based on Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds' performances. The Red Sun adaptation. So Red Sun is an Elseworld story
Okay.
where Superman lands in Soviet Russia.
Oh,
So
okay.
you get like a communist Superman,
Interesting.
which is of course very interesting.
Yeah.
And he said he'd be interested in doing that potentially with Henry Cavill.
Imagine.
I imagine, and I would never accuse anyone of saying something just to add a little bit of retweetability to it.
Yeah.
But I would imagine he's thrown Henry Cavill in there as a name just to give it a bit more legs. But
Well, yeah, he
I
knows.
think that
Go on.
Henry Cavill played a bit of a darker Superman, which I
Yeah.
think translates perfectly to Red Sun. Because I wouldn't say the Red Sun is an evil Superman; it's just a different ideology. And I think Henry Cavill's slightly darker tone works perfectly for that.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like he knows the DC fans loved Henry Cavill. They were sad to see him go. What a way to get a headline going is to say, "Oh, I'd love to have Henry Cavill do a Superman Red Sun," and it's like, also then potentially pitch that to James Gunn. So
Yeah.
makes sense.
Millie Alcock, I think I
Yes.
pronounced that correctly, has been cast as the DCU's Supergirl. The 23-year-old Australian is probably best known for her role in House of the Dragon.
She
I'm
was.
not familiar with that.
I
I
watched it.
had a little look at other stuff she's been in, and that's the only like name that jumps off at me as a big project. So no harm, no foul if she's been in other stuff that I should know.
In House of Dragon, she obviously played I forget the character's name, but she played one of the younger versions because obviously there was a lot of like time skipping in that.
Yes, because I watched
Uh,
that.
she was very good in House of Dragon. Um, I don't see her doing a bad job as Supergirl.
She
And I
has a
can,
very Supergirl vibe. She's got that kind
yeah,
of platinum blonde hair. She's the right kind of height. So, Supergirl for me has always been someone that you look at and you think they're not that big and strong, but at the same time they're Kryptonian.
and
Visually, because that's all I have to go on, she
mhm.
looks like a great casting.
Yeah, and also considering we know the Supergirl is this one that's based off the
Woman of
comic.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't hate the casting. I think it was good and like visually, like you say, and then also she was great in House of Dragons. I enjoyed doing that, so I'm sure she'll do a great job.
Awesome. Set photos of Daredevil Born Again in New York have been leaked, and they confirm that Foggy and Karen are back.
Leaked.
They they were filming in public areas in New York because they were getting out, so like a lot of them are like you can see the person filming it behind like police barriers saying this is a filming set. But yeah, they weren't trying hard to stop anyone being able to get the footage.
I
But on some of the buildings, you can see Nelson, Murdoch, and Page. You see some scenes with them walking with Matt. We're so back, baby.
oh
Let's
yeah.
cook.
I mean, a little part of me is like, Marvel's let that they've not tried to quell any leak there, knowing that the fans were like, we need Foggy and Karen back, or you're not doing this properly. And this is them going, look, we're doing it right now. You can all be quiet and trust us. We know what we're doing. But yeah, very exciting to see them back. And
I will say, now that I've seen that, I'm going to try and avoid any more Daredevil spoilers.
oh yeah,
And if you guys care about Daredevil as well, I suggest you avoid them spoilers.
oh yeah, I try and avoid this any leaks and stuff as best you can.